What does this symbolize? Freedom! Looks like a simple piece of paper that's been laminated, right? Oh, but it is so much more. This is what is used by people who communicate through something called spelling to communicate. Many times it's abbreviated S2C. A person points and touches so that they can spell out words, sentences, paragraphs, even books. Just so you are aware that this simple little piece of paper is very controversial. Hi, I'm Dr. Teresa Lyons. I teach parents the cutting-edge science of autism so that you can make the best decision for your child based on quality information. Let's understand this controversy a little bit. The people who use this way to communicate the most are people with autism who are non-speaking. Sometimes they're labeled severely autistic or profoundly autistic. Most of these people are thought to have a very low intelligence because they can't speak, they can't answer academic questions, and their body is very erratic all over the place. Their behaviors are just sometimes it's making you wonder. And unfortunately, many people make the assumption that there is no intelligence, and their life then consists of accessing education at basically the kindergarten level for 2 decades, right? What day is today? Is it cloudy? A, B, C. You get the idea, right? So they do this for 2 decades, and their future is quite bleak. So you have a picture in your mind now of the type of person who would use this board to communicate. So why is this piece of paper so controversial? Because many people believe that there is no way a person who is profoundly autistic with severe behaviors could actually be intelligent. They say that the person holding this piece of paper is actually moving it to the finger, and it's not really the autistic person who is communicating, but rather the person holding it who's manipulating it. That's a bit insane that someone's intelligence can be entirely written off that easily. It's not fair to anyone. And you know I'm about quality science, so what's the science on spelling to communicate? There has been one research study done in 2020. This is cutting edge science for you to know. This study actually leverages technology to answer the question, is the autistic person actually spelling on their own? Let me go get my slides so that if you're a visual learner, you can see what I'm talking about.
Spelling to communicate. Let's get right to the published scientific article. The study. There were 9 non-speaking autistic individuals, and they had been using the letterboards for at least 2.25 years. So these were experienced spellers. They communicate without receiving physical support, meaning the person who is holding the letterboard does not touch their hand, their arm, nothing. No one is touching them at all while they are spelling. There is a person holding the letterboard. Participants wore a head-mounted eye tracker as they responded to 24 questions about an article read aloud to them by a familiar assistant. The study structure. Participants composed their responses by pointing independently with the index finger of their right hand to letters on a letterboard held vertically by the assistant. Again, the assistant did not touch them. The same individual served as the assistant for all participants. Responses ranged in length from a single word. So let's say the question was, name a type of flower. The answer, sunflower. Or longer answers. Let's say there was a question, can you think of something you have to wait for? The answer was, that is hard. I feel like the world is waiting on me, not the other way around. So you can see the spelling and the length of communication varied depending upon the question and also what the person felt like answering. The discussion from the article. Here's a direct quote. The accuracy, speed, timing, and visual fixation patterns reported here suggest that participants were not simply looking at and pointing to letters that the assistant holding the letterboard cued to them. Instead, our data suggests that participants actively generated their own text, fixating and pointing to letters that they selected themselves. A little further in the discussion, this is not to deny that the assistant occasionally influenced participants. Right? Like when I read that, I was like, interesting. On the contrary, the assistant sometimes redirected participants who seemed to lose their train of thought, requested clarification, interrupted, that's a beautiful one, interrupted, and said aloud a word before the participant finished spelling it. Importantly, however, this kind of influence is also common among speaking people, as when someone helps another one find a word or completes their sentence, kind of interrupts, you kind of know those types of people who are interrupting, and sometimes you get excited. Sometimes you can't help it. A little more clarity. This sample population was unique because it comprised non-speaking autistic people who were intentionally chosen because they were experienced letterboard users. That really makes sense. And here's another direct quote. "We are not claiming that all non-speaking autistic people can learn to convey their thoughts using a letterboard." The scientists in the paper conclude that participants in their study were spelling their own thoughts based on their speed and visual fixation patterns. The paper is very technical. There's lots of graphs and figures. If you want to check it out, please do. The link will be down below. The scientists conclude that the participants were spelling on their own based upon all the analysis of the data provided by the technology, by the eye tracking technology. The scientists do not claim that someone who spells slowly or whose eyes cannot be tracked is incapable of conveying their own thoughts. The conclusion, this is a wonderful conclusion, the blanket dismissal of assisted autistic communication is therefore unwarranted. And here's the reference.
If you found this video to be helpful, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel to get the cutting-edge scientific information about autism so that you can make the best decision for your child based on quality information.